Hey, Xiomy here. So today is day 12 of Bookmas, and today is finally the last day because it was a bit stressful, I'm gonna admit. You know, having to edit every single day. I really don't know how vloggers do it because it's very exhausting. But today's topic for discussion is your top 12 books that you read in 2016, whether they were published in the year or whether they were not published. So none of the books that I want to mention are in any particular order, but the first one that I'm going to mention is The Whispers of the Fallen by J.D. Netto. If you want a book that's going to have you on a roller coaster of emotions, you don't know who's going to win. Is it going to be the bad guy? Is it going to be the good guy? This is the book that you should actually read. I really did love this book, and I have to admit that I was fighting a lot throughout the book, but it wasn't because it was bad or because it had horrible writing. It did not. The writing was very beautiful and very exquisite. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It's just the fact that you don't know who's going to win, whether it's going to be the bad one or the good one, because I'm the kind of person that roots for the good guy, and there were some things that were transpiring in this book that I was just like, no, this cannot be happening. But I really did enjoy this book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book that I'm going to mention is Winter by Marissa Meyer. I really did love this book. This has exquisite writing. It has so much character development, and you get to see how they are basically trying to overcome everything that is happening to them, and how they eventually try to find one another and help one another. It was just a beautifully told story, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. And I loved all the characters and how everything was basically wrapping up, and you didn't know what was going to happen because there were so many plot twists and turns that were happening, and you were basically rooting for these guys and hoping that nothing happened to them. And I love this book because it has a beautiful story about friendship. You have a diverse set of characters, and it's something that I really did enjoy. The next book that I'm going to mention is The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. This is the best sequel that I have read so far, and I really enjoyed everything that was transpiring. You have so much character development, especially in our main characters. It was something that was so beautifully to read about, and especially about the assassin. You get to know more. You get to see how they were brought up, and you know, all the difficult situations that they transpired through. And I loved watching Princess Leia, you know, grow and develop throughout this series. And the Commissar, he was such an evil brute that I really enjoyed this sequel. It was very enthusiastic, and you don't get that second book syndrome in this book. It was just something that was very lovely, and I enjoyed everything about it. And especially it ended on a huge cliffhanger that I was like, no man. The next one that I'm gonna mention is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I have to admit that this book took me by surprise. I also gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I was not expecting all these things that were transpiring. I mean, it is very difficult situations that these characters are, you know, immersed in, but I really enjoyed everything, especially how she survived a lot of the things that she was, you know, facing. And I really did enjoy Aaliyah's points of view, because you only get 2 points of views in this story. And also the academy, such a ruthless academy, and everything about it was just so heart-wrenching to read about. But it was very lovely because I enjoyed this book so much, and you have exquisite writing from beginning to end. You have some plot twists that are happening, and how they were trying to accomplish certain things, and you know, especially Laia trying to save her brother from the clutches of this evil empire, and also Elias, all the things that he was like thinking about and second guessing himself. And I really did love all the other side characters that were introduced in this book, but this was a very lovely and amazing reading experience. The next one that I want to mention is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I butchered that name, and I'm so sorry. I really did enjoy this book. I gave this 4.8 stars out of 5 just because the writing could have been helped a little bit more, but I didn't look that much into the writing because the message that is being sent is something that was very powerful, and I really did enjoy everything about it. And this book really did open my eyes to a lot of things, and I am very grateful for this book. I really raved about this book when it came out. The fact that education was being taken away from them, especially how a teenager can stand up and, you know, fight for her rights and everybody else's rights, is something that I have to praise, because it was a very lovely experience to read about, and how her father was so proud of her. I really did love that, and this book really did touch me on an emotional level, and it was something that I was not expecting to love as much as I did. The next book that I want to mention is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I hope I said that right. I read this book in a day, and I did not expect to love it as much as I did. You have not that many details that are being told, especially about the main character. That's why I gave it 4.8 out of 5 stars. But I loved everything and all the topics that they were speaking about, especially about sex and drug, and about all these things that are happening that you basically see in high school, but really isn't like brought up into the light. And you get to see all these things. And I also felt very nostalgic with this book, especially when they were speaking about cassettes and VCRs, and I was like, oh my god, I feel so nostalgic right now, but everything was very, very well told, and I really did enjoy everything that was happening. And I would have loved to know like who the heck is he writing to, and a little bit more would have satiated my love for this book. But I enjoyed it, and is this a story of self-discovery? And that's something that I really did enjoy, how he discovered that, you know, he doesn't have to please everyone in every single way in order to become their friends. And also, you know, he is suffering through a lot of things, but I really did enjoy this book. The next book that I want to mention is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I really did love this book, and I read it for the first time ever this year, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I love all the witchery that you get and also the wizardry vibes that you have, and I really have to admit that I really do loathe the Dursleys, but it was a very amazing reading experience because it immerses you into this world and also makes you nostalgic and thinking that you're a child while reading this book. And that's something that I really did enjoy. When a book accomplishes that, it is a very, very good book. But I have to admit that I enjoyed everything about it, and I am currently on the second book. It's a little bit slow, but I am enjoying it nonetheless. But this was very lovely, and I get why people rave about it so much. The next book that I want to mention is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Ali de Science. This was an amazing and lovely reading experience. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and it's a coming of age story that was so beautifully told, and I love all the Hispanic flares that are being woven throughout the entire book. And also it is a very simplistic reading experience, but yeah, it's so lovely, and I enjoyed both of these characters so much. And you only get one point of view. I would have loved Dante's point of view also, but it was a very amazing reading experience and everything. There are so many quotes that I really did enjoy about this book, and I highly recommend for everybody to read this book because it's going to be an amazing reading experience. The next book that I'm going to mention is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is the Final Empire. I really did enjoy this book so much. I gave this 4.8 out of 5 stars. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did, but you know, all the way the story is told, and especially all these images that are being presented in your mind, and how allomancy works, and then basically how all these metals, you can burn them, and you know, you get different powers with them, was something that I really did enjoy. I am gonna admit that in the beginning I was like a little bit lost, but then, you know, I read the chart in the back, and then I started reading it, and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. But it is a very enjoyable reading experience, and I gave it 4.8 out of 5 stars just because I thought that Vin fell under a lot of tropes, especially now in YA literature, and I thought that, you know, she could have been told in a different way. But you know, it wasn't something that I'm gonna be too drastic or too picky about. But I loved Kelsier. Oh my god, he was my favorite character, and he I'm just gonna say that he was just a very lovely reading experience, and I enjoyed him so much, and I've never loved the character as much as I love him. The next books I'm gonna mention, I'm gonna mention them as one, even though they are two, because I count it as one because it was a very amazing reading experience, and that is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdoms, the Six of Crows duology by Lee Bardugo. I really love these books. You have exquisite writing, you have mind games that are being woven throughout the entire story. You also have an in-depth look into the minds of criminals, because you have your ragtag team of criminals that they're trying to accomplish a major heist, and it's such a very pleasurable reading experience, especially since you have a diverse cast of characters, and I highly enjoy it so much. And I obviously recommend everybody to read these books because these books are just so amazing. I mean, Kaz Brekker was such a beautiful person to read about, and Inej, and Jesper, and Willen, and Matthias. I have to admit that Matthias had such a huge character development in this book, and he really did steal my heart in this book. But it's just a lovely reading experience, and I enjoyed it so much, and you get to see them battle with their inner demons. It was just a very pleasurable reading experience. The next two books that I'm going to mention are ones that I don't physically have right now, because one is being lent and the other one I lost it in my Kindle. But anyways, I'm going to mention Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I gave that 4.9 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy that story. It is a sci-fi book, and I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but the format and the way that it's told makes it such a pleasurable reading experience, because you get to see it. It's like a movie in a book, like right there in front of you, because you get to see it through dossiers and messaging, and it was just something that was very uniquely told, and I really enjoyed everything about it. I would have loved a little bit more of physical descriptions from the characters, but I cannot wait to continue this series. The next and final one that I'm going to mention was in my Kindle, but unfortunately I lost my Kindle. My Kindle died. I don't know what the heck happened to it, but I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and it is a novella, and it's called Nothing But Shadows from the Shadowhunters Academy. I love this book so much. I don't care anything that was happening about Simon. I only cared about James Herondale and Matthew Fairchild. I love these characters so much, and they stole my heart, and I love them like immensely, and I want to continue reading about them. So those are all the books that I read in 2016 that I really did enjoy. I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and hope that you have a wonderful and lovely day, and I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.